I moved out to the countryside because I wanted silence. Real silence. The kind where you can hear the wind before you hear anything man-made. The kind where your mornings start with birds, not engines. My property was tucked at the end of a long dirt road that curved like a lazy river through tall grass and rough patches of wild bushes. The road wasn't pretty in the polished sense, but it had a charm, an untouched natural kind of ruggedness. I loved that road because it meant peace, privacy, freedom. When I bought the land, the previous owner told me, "This road is yours, entirely, deeded. Nobody can cross it without your permission." I didn't think much of it at the time. Who would want to? It was remote, uneven, dusty, and the kind of road where your car never stays clean. Most people would avoid it, except clearly one person. I first noticed the SUV the second week I was settling in. I was on my porch drinking a fresh cup of coffee, admiring the early golden sunlight spilling across the dry ground. Then in the distance I heard the unmistakable roar of an engine, loud, aggressive, accelerating way too fast for any dirt road. Before I could even turn my head completely, a cloud of dust exploded upward and a white mid-size SUV shot through the bend like it was in a rally race. Dirt spun under her tires, the back of the vehicle sliding for a second before she regained control and tore up the path as if she was competing for prize money. I froze for a moment. Who the hell drives like that out here? She was gone before I could wave or shout or even blink properly. So, maybe she was lost. Maybe it was an emergency. Maybe she was delivering something and took the wrong turn. I shrugged it off. The next day, same thing, same sound, same dusty tornado, same blinding speed. By day 5, I realized this wasn't an accident. This was a routine. Someone had decided that my private road was their personal freeway. And not just any freeway, a racetrack. I didn't see the driver clearly until the 7th day. I stood near the side of the road pretending to fix a loose wooden post. I heard her before I saw her, a revving engine, a gear shift, a growling acceleration. Then she appeared, blonde hair tied in a high ponytail, sunglasses on despite the early hour, lips tightly pressed as if permanently annoyed. Her SUV hit a bump, bounced, corrected, and she didn't even flinch. She didn't slow, she didn't look at the road signs, she didn't look at me. She just blasted through like a NASCAR driver on her last lap. Dust hit me so hard I coughed for a straight minute. That evening, I walked down the community street to figure out who she was. It didn't take long. Residents recognized the description instantly. "Oh, that's Karen." Of course it was. Everyone had the same reaction, an exhausted sigh, an eye roll, or a muttered good luck. Apparently she had lived here for 2 years and had already argued with half the neighborhood about things that weren't even her business. Property lines, fence heights, dog sizes, porch colors, a kid's lemonade stand, someone's wind chimes. If there was a hill to die on, Karen would sprint to it, plant her flag, and scream until everyone surrendered. So the idea of her using a private road without permission felt on brand. Still, I wanted to be civil. Maybe she didn't know it was private. Maybe she was confused. The next morning, I waited. The moment I heard her engine approaching, I walked toward the road and stood in a visible spot where she could see me. She did see me. She just didn't care. She didn't slow down at all. Instead, she wagged her fingers like move and kept going. I swallowed dust again. That was the moment I knew I had to confront her. Later that afternoon, I walked to her house. Her lawn was picture perfect, but the vibe was suffocating, like everything was forced into shape because she willed it there with pure anger. I knocked gently. She swung open the door with a startled huff, as if I had interrupted a life-changing operation rather than a random afternoon. "Yes," she snapped. "Hi, I started calmly. "I think you've been using the dirt road behind my place. I just wanted to let you know it's actually a private road." Her lips curled upward in a sarcastic half-smile. "I pay all your fees. That means all roads in this area are community access." "That one isn't," I said gently. "It's deeded to my property. The previous owner confirmed it. I have the documentation if you want to see it." She crossed her arms dramatically. "Well, I've lived here longer than you, and everyone uses that road." "That's not true," I replied kindly. "I'm at the end of it. Nobody else needs it." She rolled her eyes. "Oh look, it's faster." "I'm not driving 8 extra minutes because of some stupid technicality." "It's not a technicality," I said, still holding my calm. "It's trespassing." "Oh please," she said with a scoff. Roads aren't something you own. Stop being dramatic. I'll keep using it. Then she shut the door. Just like that. No discussion. No willingness to listen. Just pure entitlement. I stood there for a moment, shocked. Not because she said it, but because she said it so confidently, like she truly believed the world operated on her personal logic. The next morning, I installed 3 large signs at the start of the road. Private road no through traffic. Reflective letters. Big. Impossible to miss. She missed them anyway. Or rather, she deliberately ran them over. I'm not exaggerating. She literally drove over them. The metal poles bent sideways like they had been attacked by a tank. Her tires left thick, deep marks across the signs. And as she flew by, she smiled. Not a friendly smile, a mocking, taunting one. I knew then. This wasn't ignorance. This wasn't ignorance. This wasn't confusion. This was spite. Then came the turning point. One afternoon, my dog slipped out of the yard and wandered near the road. I was 10 feet away when I heard her SUV barreling toward us. She didn't slow down. She didn't swerve. She didn't swerve. She didn't brake. I screamed. My dog jumped back at the very last second. Her SUV flashed by us, and she honked at me. She rolled down her window just long enough to shout, "Keep your dog out of my shortcut." My hands shook. Not from fear, from cold, sharp anger. The kind doesn't explode outward, but simmers and hardens and plans. That night, I researched every legal option. Spikes? Illegal. Barriers? Ishewa might interfere. Gates would require a permit. But there was something completely legal, effective, and genius. Subtle speed, calming rumble strips. The kind that blend perfectly into the ground and were almost invisible unless you were looking for them. If you drove slowly, 10 or 15 mph, you barely felt them. But if you flew over them at 50 mph, they felt like the earth itself was hitting your car with a sledgehammer. Perfect. I hired a crew discreetly. They came after sunset, worked in silence, and left before midnight. When they were done, the strips blended flawlessly into the dirt. Same color, same texture. Zero visual indication unless sunlight struck at a very precise angle. Nobody but me knew they were there. And the next morning, as I stood on my porch sipping coffee, waiting, the sky still pale with sunrise, I heard it. The familiar roar, the revving engine, the arrogance approaching. She came around the bend at her usual insane speed. Her SUV hit the rumble strips. Thump, crack, bam! Her entire vehicle jolted upward like it had jumped a curb. A deafening metallic scrape echoed across the field as the undercarriage slammed the raised texture. Bam. A huge cloud of dust exploded around her. The SUV skidded sideways, fishtailed, and finally screeched to a stop. Coffee never tasted so good. She flung open the door, shrieking at the top of her lungs. "Oh, what the hell did you do to the road?" "You could have killed me." I walked toward her calmly, almost leisurely. "Mom, you hit the speed control strip. They're designed to slow traffic down." Designed by who?" she screamed. By the owner of the road. You don't own this road," she shouted, voice cracking, voice cracking. Voice cracking. I took out my phone, scrolled, and held up the deed documentation. "Actually, I do," she screamed, actual primal screaming, then yelled that she was calling the Ejoa, the police, the government, anyone who would listen. Oi showed up later that day and sided with me. Turns out she had been a problem for them too. She got a cease and desist letter, used the private road again, right arrow $1,000 fine. Damage anything, right arrow liability on her. Ignore rules, right arrow hoa disciplinary action. She stood in her driveway reading the letter, trembling with fury, and then ripped it apart. But rules were rules. The next day she tried driving near the start of my road, slowed down, glared, then turned around. The day after that, same thing, and the next, and the next. She now took the long way. 8 extra minutes, every single day. And every time she passed my house, she glared like I had personally betrayed her, but she never dared touch my road again. For the first time since moving here, my mornings were quiet again. My road was mine again. And NASCAR Karen, well, her racing career was officially retired. Karen didn't disappear after the invisible spike incident. If anything, it ignited her ego like gasoline on a brush fire. For a few peaceful days, the road remained untouched. Her tires were fixed, her car was back in action, and the dust around the whole drama had started to settle. But people like Karen don't retreat. They reload. I didn't see her around much, but I noticed small signs that she wasn't done. First, she placed a tiny wireless camera on a tree pointing toward the road, pretending it was for a wildlife monitoring. Except wildlife cameras don't need Wi-Fi and AHLY stickers on the back. I disconnected it and neatly placed it on her porch with a note, private property, do not install devices here. The next morning, she marched down the road again, though without her car this time. She stood right in the middle of the path, hands on her hips, scanning for the spikes like she was a detective solving a murder scene. When she didn't find anything, she stepped closer to my property, close enough to prove a point, but not close enough to trespass. I stayed inside, watching through the window, wondering what form her next meltdown would take. She paced around, muttering to herself about unsafe road conditions, Ian, at dangerous traps, trying to convince herself she had a case. Then she left, but not quietly. She stomped her way back up the road, kicking rocks and yelling to no one in particular. Later that evening, I heard what sounded like revving engines again. Only this time, the noise wasn't coming from her Subaru. It was coming from something larger, heavier, and way more obnoxious. Through the trees, I saw flashing lights, bright orange, spinning on top of a truck, a tow truck, a big one. At first, I thought maybe someone in the area had broken down. Fun. But when it stopped right by the entrance to my dirt road, I knew exactly what was happening. Karen hopped out of the passenger side, clipboard in hand, wearing a Fakoa safety vest she printed at home. The tow truck driver looked confused, cautious, and slightly amused. She began waving her arms dramatically, pointing up and down my road like she was coordinating an emergency rescue operation. I stepped outside, staying calm, even though my patience was running on fumes. "What's going on?" I called out. Karen spun around like she was shocked to see me. "Oh, good. You're here. Your unsafe road has become a liability for our community. I've contacted a private contractor to remove all dangerous debris, obstructions, and," she took a dramatic pause, "hazardous devices." The tow truck driver turned to me. Sir, are you aware she requested us to search your entire property for landmines?" I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. "No landmines here, and this is private property, no one is entering." Karen jabbed her finger toward me. "This road is a shared access point for the Ashawa and therefore falls under our authority. We have every right to inspect it." "That would be true," I said calmly, "if your Hoye owned even a single inch of it. But it doesn't. She opened her mouth to argue, but I kept going. "This road is privately deeded. It is a part of my property. You have no jurisdiction, no authority, and definitely no right to bring contractors out here. If they enter, it will be trespassing." The tow truck driver shrugged, relieved. "Yeah, I'm not stepping foot on land that isn't ours to touch." "Lady, you didn't say anything about private property." Karen turned red instantly. "It's a safety matter. You have to. The Sheway demands it." The driver gave her a look that clearly said, "I'm not getting sued for you," climbed into his truck, and drove off, leaving her standing there humiliated. The moment he left, she stormed toward me again. "You don't understand what you're doing. This road is important for emergency access, for community use, it's for the person who owns it." "That's me, no one else," I interrupted. She sputtered, searching for words. Finally, she said the phrase all Karens default to. "Well, I'm going to report this." "To whom?" She froze. The silence was delicious. She grabbed her vest, marched past me, and stomped her way back toward the neighborhood. But the quiet didn't last long. 2 days later, I woke up to the sound of gravel crunching, multiple vehicles, not just one. When I stepped outside, I saw a line of HOA board members walking down my road in matching polos like they were on a field trip. Clipboards, pens, name tags, socks, the whole squad. And in the middle was Karen, walking proudly like she'd brought reinforcements. These people didn't look like the type to investigate anything. They looked like they were on their way to a brunch buffet, but they approached me with fake politeness plastered on their faces. "Hello," one of them said with the exaggerated friendliness of a used car salesman. "We've received several reports of dangerous activity on this road, and we need to conduct a safety inspection." I kept my arms crossed. This road is not HOA property. Watching her explain to the owner why she took his cones and wrote fake safety signs was a masterpiece of cringe. The owner demanded the cones back and told her he'd call the police next time. She left shaking, part fear, part humiliation, part blind rage. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, I heard yet another engine roaring. But this time it wasn't her Subaru. It was something far worse, a dirt bike. Karen had recruited her teenage nephew, and he was about to treat my private road like his personal racetrack. Karen's nephew tore down my dirt road like he was auditioning for a stunt movie. The dirt bike roared, bouncing off every uneven patch, sending clouds of dust into the air. It wasn't just reckless, it was dangerous. He fishtailed around corners, skidding so close to trees that even I cringed. The deputy eventually placed a document in her hand, an official written warning stating that any further trespassing, harassment, or attempted enforcement of fake authority on private land would result in charges. Watching her read that paper was poetic.